The day opens without a sound, no signal telling me to move. Light settles slowly on the floor, like it's learning how to breathe. Nothing arrives all at once, each thought takes its own time. I don't feel the need to follow anything that isn't mine. I notice how the room feels wide when I stop trying to fill the space. Even the smallest moments leave a gentle kind of trace. There is no rush inside this hour, no pressure hiding in the light. I let the morning take its shape without asking it to decide. I sit with what is in front of me, not reaching for what comes next. Some answers don't need to show up to let the moment feel complete. The sound around me stays low, almost blending into air. Every detail feels intentional, even when I'm unaware. I let my focus find its place, not fixed but softly aligned. It moves the way water does, never sharp, never defined. Time stretches in a quiet way, not slower, just more clear. Each minute stands on its own without leaning on the year. I don't separate the doing from the feeling of being here. They meet somewhere in between and both begin to disappear. There's comfort in this gentle start that doesn't ask me to improve. It gives permission to remain exactly where I choose. I notice how my breathing shifts when nothing pulls it fast. The present holds me lightly without reminding of the past. Thoughts form and then dissolve, like writing left in sand. They don't need to be remembered to be something I understand. I let the day continue on without assigning it a role. Some hours are meant to happen without becoming a goal. The rhythm stays consistent, but it never feels the same. Each second carries something new, even if it has no name. I stay with this unfolding pace, letting effort fade away. There's no signal for the ending, only movement in the day. I won't notice when it does, because I never left the space where everything felt enough.
The space feels open without effort, like nothing is asking to be filled. Light stays a little longer, resting on the edges of things. I don't rush to name the feeling, it doesn't need a clear shape. Some moments are easier when I let them stay unnamed. The hours move without markers, no beginning, no end. Just a quiet sense of direction that doesn't need to bend. I notice how my thoughts arrive, not all at once, not in line. They take turns finding their place, then quietly leave my mind. There's room here to be unfinished, to pause without losing ground. Progress doesn't always announce itself, sometimes it moves without sound. I stay inside the simple motion of doing what feels near, letting attention settle gentle softly without steering it too clear. Nothing pulls me forward, nothing holds me back. I'm right where the day unfolds, and that feels intact. The air carries small intentions, not heavy enough to hold. Each one passing through me before it turns old. I don't measure how far I've gone or how much is left to do. The present doesn't ask for proof, it only asks me to stay true. There's ease in this open rhythm that doesn't tighten or fade. It stays consistent without repeating, never asking to be replayed. I let the light change naturally without following its lead. Some clarity comes slowly when I don't rush it to be seen. The moment doesn't close itself, it simply moves aside, making space for what comes next without breaking its line. And when the day shifts quietly, I won't mark where it began, because I stayed with the open hours exactly as I am.
The lines begin to feel clear when I stop trying to draw them. Some things arrange themselves without asking for direction. I notice how my thoughts slow down, not stopping, just spacing out, each one finding room to exist without needing to stand out. There's a quiet order forming, not planned but naturally placed. Ideas settle where they fit without being chased. I don't separate the moments into useful or unused. Everything here has a purpose, even when it feels diffused. The mind doesn't need to be empty to feel light and aligned. It just needs enough space to move without being confined. I let attention rest gently on whatever feels near. Nothing demanding precision, nothing pulling me clear. Time moves in a straight enough way, even without a map. I follow the sense of direction that doesn't require a path. There's comfort in this arrangement where nothing overlaps. Each thought has its own distance, and the space in between relaxes. I don't rush to conclusions or try to shorten the way. Clarity grows on its own when I let it stay. The hours remain consistent without repeating a form. Every moment feels familiar, but never exactly the same. I stay with the steady movement that holds without control. Progress doesn't announce itself, it simply continues to unfold. And when the focus deepens, I barely notice the shift, because nothing changes sharply, it just feels more distant. Doesn't need to be empty to feel light and aligned. It just needs enough space to move without being confined. I let attention rest gently on whatever feels near. Nothing demanding precision, nothing pulling me clear. The lines remain open, not fixed but clearly drawn, enough to move forward calmly, enough to carry on.
becoming a strain. I notice how my body settles when I stop checking the pace. There's a rhythm already present, holding everything in place. Nothing pushes from behind, nothing waits ahead. The moment stays wide open, not narrow, not rushed, not led. I let the work exist quietly without turning it into weight. Some things are easier to finish when I don't hurry their shape. The hours moving gently and stacking without collapse, each one resting on the last without the need to overlap. I stay aware but not alert, present without being tight. There's a balance in this attention that doesn't need to fight. Even effort feels lighter when it follows instead of leads. The flow carries small intentions and answers what it needs. I don't divide the time into progress or delay. Yeah, everything continues forward in its own consistent way. This steady motion holds me without asking me to steer. It moves forward without noise and keeps everything clear. I remain inside the movement, letting it guide my hands, trusting that what continues calmly always understands. When this part of the day passes, when this part of the day passes, when this part of the day passes, won't notice how it ends.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Nothing separates this moment from the one that came before. They connect without a seam, like an open, quiet floor. I don't search for clear divisions between effort and rest. Both seem to exist together without needing to be addressed. The mind stays gently occupied, not empty, not full. Just enough awareness to keep everything smooth. I let the details pass through me without trying to retain. Some clarity appears naturally when I don't try to explain. Oh, time stretching without resistance, neither slow nor fast. Each second feels complete without leaning on the last. I stay with the continuity that holds without demand. Nothing sudden interrupts it, nothing slips from my hands. The rhythm doesn't repeat itself, it simply keeps its tone. Familiar without returning, always moving, never alone. I don't measure where I am along the length of the day. The continuum doesn't ask for progress to be displayed. There's comfort in this quiet extension where nothing breaks the line. Every thought stays connected without asking for a sign. Ooh. imperfection fades into whatever follows through. I won't mark the transition because it felt continuous too.
Settles in gradually, like light finding its way across a familiar room. I don't force my thoughts forward, I let them gather naturally. Some stay close to the surface, others move quietly underneath. There's no sharp moment of clarity, just a steady sense of alignment where effort and ease begin to overlap. I follow the simplest action and let it lead to the next. Each step connects on its own without needing direction. The space around me feels usable, not empty, not full. Everything I need is present without being announced. I notice how focus becomes lighter when I stop checking its shape. It works best when it is shade. It works best when it isn't washed, when it's allowed to remain. Time continues without pressure, each minute holding its place. Nothing pulls me away from it, nothing asks me to escape. I stay with this quiet tension, letting it do what it does, trusting that consistency is more than enough. When the moment deepens, I don't feel it arrive, because nothing changes suddenly. It simply becomes clear that I'm inside.
There's an interval between moments when nothing needs to happen. It isn't empty or unfinished, just open. I stay inside that space without trying to define it. Some things work better when they remain unnamed. Lost mobile cars quietly, not forming a pattern. Fun in the place to exist before moving on. Thought unfolding closely, I let them pass at their own pace. Each one leaving a small impression and releasing it. The day doesn't require commentary, it continues whether I speak or not. I move along with it without interrupting this friend. There's ease in this middle ground, where effort stays late and the tension doesn't tighten around the long pain. Time feels evenly distributed, not gathered or scattered. Each second balanced battle undecided. It never me buzzing without effort, away without intensity. Letting loud in a vote, whatever needs to cuss, come me. Not the signals of transition, because I'm not being true yet. It simply opens it to what comes next.
far in any direction. I stay where the ground feels even. There's no need to shift my way when balance already exists. The day moves in small adjustments, barely noticeable. Each one keeping things aligned without drawing attention. I don't search for intensity or moments that stand apart. Everything works better when it shares the same tone. The mind stays level, not drifting, not fixed, just aware enough to keep moving forward. There's comfort in this consistency that doesn't repeat itself. It remains familiar without returning to the same place. I let the hours layer gently, one resting on the next. Nothing collapses under them, nothing needs to be held up. Even focus feels natural here. When I don't try to sharpen it, it stays wide and usable without losing its shape. I remain on even ground, letting the day continue. Not pushing for resolution, not waiting for something new. And as time carries on, I stay aligned with it, because balance doesn't require effort, it only requires staying.
The pace doesn't break, it carries itself forward without stopping to announce where it's going. I follow without urgency, letting the movement guide me. Each moment connecting naturally to the one before it. There's no sense of falling behind, yeah, when nothing is racing ahead. Time holds its own structure without asking me to manage it. I stay inside the progression, not measuring its length. Some things are easier to complete when they aren't divided. Focus becomes a background state, present but in the true state. It supports without interrupting the flow of attention. I don't interrupt the rhythm, check if it's working. It continues best when it isn't. Examine the day unfolds evenly without peaks or drops, each section linking smoothly into the next. I move through without resistance, letting continuity remain. Because the pace doesn't need correction, it only needs to continue.
Nothing needs to be added here. Everything already fits. The moment feels complete without needing adjustment. I don't search for refinement or a clearer version of now. This is clear enough to continue. The mind rests in a usable state, mind empty, not occupied, just opened enough to move gently forward. I let go of the idea that something must resolve. Some days move past when they simply conclude. There's no final emphasis, no need for a closing line. The days is into itself without asking to be marked. Attention softens naturally as the work finds its end. Not stopping abruptly, just loosening its hold. I stay awake, this quiet finish, letting it arrive on its own. Because completion doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just feels done. And when I move away from this moment, I carry nothing extra, only the sense that what needed to happen already did.
I open the page without expectation, not looking for anything specific, just letting the words be where they are before deciding what they mean. The space around me stays quiet, not silent, just unoccupied. Enough room for attention to settle without being pulled in any direction. I notice how focus doesn't arrive suddenly. It builds itself in small layers, one thought resting on the next until the distance between them feels useful. Nothing here needs urgency. The work doesn't ask to be finished quickly. It only has to be returned to again and again without pressure. I stay with the sentence in front of me, not the one that follows. Each line holds enough weight when I let it exist on its own. Time moves differently in this state, not slower, not faster, just less noticeable, as if it no longer needs to announce itself.
My mind stays active without tension, engaged but not stretched. There's a difference between effort and resistance, and I feel it clearly now.
I don't rush to connect ideas, they link themselves naturally when given enough space and enough patience to do so. The room feels steady around me, nothing shifts, nothing distracts. Even small sounds fade into texture, supporting the moment instead of interrupting it.
I continue without marking progress, without checking how far I've come. The process holds its own value, independent of any result. There's a calm consistency in repetition when it isn't forced. Returning to the same task feels different each time.
I stay aware of my breathing, not controlling it, just noticing how it flows. When my attention remains in one place, thoughts appear and dissolve without needing to be followed. Some leave an impression, others pass without leaving anything behind. I don't hold on to clarity, let it come and go, understanding now that focus works best when it isn't held too tightly. The work continues quietly, not demanding recognition, each small action completing itself before moving naturally into the next. I remain inside the steady rhythm, letting it guide my pace. There's no finish line here, only continuity.
Even uncertainty feels manageable when it isn't examined too closely. It becomes part of the background rather than an obstacle. The page in front of me stays open, letting it guide my pace. There's no finish line here, only continuity. Even uncertainty feels manageable when it isn't examined too closely. It becomes part of the background rather than an obstacle. The page in front of me stays open, not because it needs to be filled, but because it allows me to stay exactly where I am. Minutes pass without friction, each one complete on its own. I don't feel the need to summarize or to reach a conclusion. The focus deepens gradually without a clear moment of arrival. I realize I've been here for a while, only because nothing has interrupted me.
I stay with the word, not pushing it forward, not pulling away from it, letting it unfold at its own pace.
When I eventually look up, nothing feels drained, only settled, as if the time spent here has arranged itself quietly into something usable. Progress doesn't always make itself visible. Sometimes it happens quietly. It's small adjustments that don't announce when they begin or when they end. I stay with what is directly in front of me, not the idea of completion, but the thought of moving ahead. Just the work as it exists now. There's a common informant, not because I planned it, but because I stayed long enough for it to appear on its own. The mind works differently in this state, less concerned with outcome, more attentive to the movement itself and how each step connects. I don't rush to organize other things, some order forms naturally when I stop interfering and allow the process to continue. Time becomes less defined, not measured in sections, but experienced as a steady presence that supports what I'm doing. I notice fewer interruptions, not because the world is quieter, but because my intention is no longer searching for them. Each action completes itself before even wait till the next. Nothing overlaps, nothing feels unfinished. There is progress here, even if it doesn't look like change, even if it leaves no clear marker to point back to. I stay with the repetition without expecting it to feel the same. Each return carries slight variation, enough to remain engaging. The work doesn't demand speed, it only responds to persistency. And I offer it exactly that, without effort. Thoughts appeal as frequently now, not because they stop, but because they pass through without pulling me away. I don't question the pace or check it face to face. I slice the work continuous steadily, always a cumulus meaning. The space around me feels stable, holding everything in place, so nothing needs to be managed or corrected. Continue without marking time, better minutes pass uncounted, knowing that quiet progress rarely needs confirmation. When I eventually pause, there's no sense of interruption, and only the feeling that something has been gently carried forward. And even if I can't play to it, that progress down.
yeah. Attention stays with me longer now. Not because I'm holding it, but because nothing is pulling in another direction. I remain focused without narrowing, aware without intensity. There's room to think without losing stability. The task in front of me feels complete, even before it is finished. Each moment within it carry enough weight on its own. I don't anticipate distraction or prepare to resist it. I simply stay where I am and it passes by unnoticed. There is a difference between forcing concentration and allowing attention to settle naturally. In this state, the mind doesn't rush ahead or circle backward. It moves forward in a straight line. In this view, the mind doesn't rush ahead or circle backward. It moves forward in a straight line. I notice fewer internal questions, not because they disappear, but because they no longer interrupt what I'm doing. Everything feels held, not tightly but securely enough to continue without concern. I don't separate effort from rest. They exist together here, working side by side without conflict. The rhythm remains consistent even as details change. Nothing stands out sharply, nothing fades completely. Time feels supportive rather than demanding, each minute offering itself without condition. I stay present without monitoring, letting awareness do its work, trusting that attention knows how to remain. When the focus deepens further, there's no moment of arrival, only the realization that I've been here all along. And when I finally shift away, nothing feels scattered. The attention remains intact, as if it knows how to stay, even when I move on. When I move on, and when I finally shift away, nothing feels scattered. The attention remains intact, as if it knows how to stay, even when I move on.
Because I decided to stay, but because nothing is asking me to move away. The present holds its shape gently, without pressure or demand. It allows me to stay inside it without needing explanation. I don't track every thought as it passes through. Some unnoticed briefly, others leave without a trace. The mind stays active, but not scattered. Engaged without being stretched across too many directions. I let attention rest naturally on what feels immediate, not narrowing it, not letting it drift. There's stability in this presence that doesn't require effort. It holds without tightening and releases without losing form. Time feels less segmented here, not divided into tests, but experience is a continuous field, supporting everything equally. I don't rush to complete anything. I allow before the next begins. Distractions appear less defined, not because they disappear, but because they no longer interrupt the current flow. I stay aware of my surroundings without responding to them. They remain in the background, providing texture rather than signal. The work continues steadily, not asking for motivation, only consistency, which I offer without strain. I don't feel the need to step back and evaluate. Progress is happening, even if it leaves no visible mark. There is calm in this sustained attention, where nothing competes and nothing is neglected. Everything simply remains. I stay here, not waiting for a shift, not anticipating an end, just remaining present. And when the moment eventually changes, it won't feel like leaving, only like continuing in another form.
I remain where I am, not because I've decided to stay, but because nothing is asking me to move away. The present holds its shape gently without pressure or demand. It allows me to stay inside it without needing explanation. I don't track every thought as it passes through. Some notice briefly, others leave without a trace. Mind stays active but not scattered, engaged without being stretched across too many directions. I let attention rest naturally on what feels immediate, not narrowing it, not letting it drift. There's stability in this presence that doesn't require effort. It holds without tightening and releases without losing form. Time feels less segmented here, not divided into tasks, but experienced as a continuous field, supporting everything equally. I don't rush to complete anything. I allow actions to finish themselves, each one closing softly before the next begins. Distractions appear less defined, not because they disappear, but because they no longer interrupt the current flow. I stay aware of my surroundings without responding to them. They remain in the background, providing texture rather than signal. The work continues steadily, not asking for motivation, only consistency, which I offer without strain. I don't feel the need to step back and evaluate. Progress is happening, even if it leaves no visible mark. There is calm in this sustained attention where nothing competes and nothing is neglected. Everything simply remains. I stay here, not waiting for a shift, not anticipating an end, just remaining present. Oh, when the moment eventually changes, it won't feel like leaving, only live like continuing in another form.
The work continues without needing encouragement. It exists on its own terms, responding best when it isn't pushed or interrupted. I stay close to the process itself, not the idea of finishing. Each part holds enough leaning when it's allowed to remain simple. There's no urgency in this movement, only direction, and even that feels optional. As long as I stay engaged, the mind remains occupied, but not crowded. You start appearing briefly, then settling back into the background. I don't rush to make decisions, they arrive naturally when the conditions are steady and the pace remains even. Time feels cooperative here, supporting instead of demanding, allowing attention to remain stable without effort. I continue without checking progress, trusting that consistency accumulates quietly without needing recognition. The space around me stays unchanged, offering no distractions, just enough structure to hold the moment in place. I stay with the work, letting it unfold at its own speed, knowing that pressure only interrupts what's already working. And as the minutes pass, we leave no trace of strain, only the sense that something has been steadily carried forward.
The mind feels settled, not because everything is resolved, but because nothing is competing for attention. I stay aligned with what I'm doing without needing to reinforce it. The focus holds itself when it isn't questioned. Thoughts appear less frequently now, not absent, just less urgent, less demanding. I don't trace their origin or follow where they lead. I let them pass through without interruption. There's clarity in this state that doesn't require sharpness. It's wide enough to hold detail without narrowing. Time feels evenly distributed, each moment supporting the next. Nothing feels out of sync, nothing feels delayed. I remain present without effort, engaged without tension, allowing the world to meet me halfway. The environment fades gently into supportive texture, each sound remaining distant and at a true strength. I don't check how long I've been here or how much remains. The process feels complete at every stage. all alone.
Nothing needs to be adjusted. Everything is already aligned. The movement continues naturally, without correction. I don't search for improvement or a better version of now. This moment holds enough clarity to continue. The work responds well to gentle consistency, not acceleration, not force. I remain attentive without narrowing my focus, allowing awareness to stay wide and usable. Time passes smoothly without marking transitions, each section flowing into the next, without interruption. I stay present within the continuation, not anticipating a change, not resisting one, just remaining. The mind remains flexible without losing structure, each thought fitting easily into the larger flow. I don't separate effort from ease, they exist together here, supporting the same motion from different angles. The rhythm stays intact, even as details shift. Nothing stands out sharply, nothing fades completely. And as the stretch of time unfolds, it carries itself forward without needing guidance or adjustment.
Yeah. The focus feels like a field, wide and evenly held. Nothing stands apart, nothing collapses inward. I stay within that space without trying to manage it. The attention distributes itself where it's needed. There's no center to return to, no edge to avoid. Everything exists at the same level. The work continues steadily, not accelerating, not slowing, simply remaining active. I don't scan for distractions, they pass through the perimeter without crossing into the center of what I'm doing. Time supports this state without interruption, each minute contributing without calling attention. I remain aware of the movement without tracking it, allowing the process to stay uninterrupted. Yeah. Thoughts come and go without pulling focus away. They remain part of the field without dominating it. The rhythm molds evenly across the entire space. Nothing requires emphasis, nothing needs removal. And as this field continues, it sustains itself, holding focus gently, without effort,
fully engaged without feeling contained. The attention stays with the work naturally. Nothing needs reinforcement. The focus holds on its own, responding to consistency rather than effort. I don't look for stimulation or variation. The steadiness itself is enough. Each moment completes itself before moving on, leaving no residue, no tension. The environment remains supported without becoming noticeable. Every sound staying distant, every movement peripheral. I remain present without monitoring my state, allowing awareness to function independently. Time feels complete at every point, not something to move through, but something to remain within as long as needed. The work continues, and I continue with it, neither leading nor following. And when this period of focus ends, it won't feel interrupted, only naturally complete, as if it lasted exactly as one is what was meant to.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. Thoughts begin to lean instead of move, not drifting away, just resting at an angle that feels less demanding. I stay with that shit without trying to guide it. Some moments soften naturally when they aren't examined. The mind holds a quieter weight now, still present, but less insistent, as if it trusts the space it's in. I don't ask where this feeling is going, or how long it intends to stay. It exists well enough without needing direction. Time moves with a gentler pressure, not slowing, not pushing forward, simply allowing itself to pass. I notice how attention changes when emotion enters lightly. It doesn't disrupt the focus, it adds texture to it. There is room here for reflection without pull, for memory without return, for thought without conclusion. I don't follow every association. Some are acknowledged, others remain in the background, forming a quiet landscape. The work continues, but it carries a warmer tone. Not urgency, not intensity, just presence with depth. I remain engaged, even as feeling becomes noticeable. It doesn't take control, it simply exists alongside what I'm doing. Breathe in, stay steady, hands move without interruption. Nothing requires adjustment, nothing resists. The environment feels unchanged, yet somehow more accommodating, as if it recognizes the softer state of attention. I don't separate thinking from feeling here. They move together without conflict, without overlap. Time feels fuller, not heavier, each minute holding more dimension without demanding more effort. I I let the moment continue without trying to find it, knowing that clarity doesn't disappear when warmth is present. There is no need to resolve anything, no reason to close the thought. The space allows continuation without conclusion. And so I stay, letting the drift remain gentle, supporting what I'm doing without pulling me away from it.
Attention feels warmer here, not sharper, not more intense, just more open. I don't guard my focus, I allow it to expand slightly, letting feeling exist without taking the lead. The task remains clear, even as emotion appears. They don't compete, they coexist. I stay with the work while allowing reflection, not pausing, not accelerating, just continue. Thoughts surface gently, without urgency, each one acknowledged, then allowed to pass. There's a softness in this state that doesn't reduce clarity, it supports it by removing resistance. Time feels less segmented, more like a continuous surface where attention moves freely without losing direction. I don't evaluate what I'm feeling or attempt to refine it. This openness doesn't need management, it sustains itself. The surroundings remain quiet, but they feel more present, not louder, just more noticeable in texture. I remain grounded, even as warmth increases. Nothing pulls me inward, nothing pushes me out. Doesn't split between task and thought, it holds both without strain. I let the moment continue without seeking balance. It already exists in this steady openness. There is no shift to prepare for, no return to manage. This state supports continuation without querying, changing as time moves forward. I remain here, focused, open, and quietly supported by everything continuing as it is.
The edges of thought begin to soften, not disappearing, just losing their sharpness, as if they no longer need definition. I stay with that change without adjusting my focus, allowing feeling to exist alongside what I'm doing. Nothing pulls attention away, nothing asks for reaction. The emotional weight remains light, present without pressure. I don't follow memories as they pass through. Some appear briefly, others remain distant, all of them moving without insistence. Time feels less rigid now, still structured but more forgiving. forgiving, allowing small variations without disrupting the flow. The work continues, held by the same steady rhythm, even as warmth settles in, without shifting its direction. I notice how focus adapts, rather than resist, it expands just enough to hold more than one leg. The room feels unchanged, yet slightly more accommodating, as if the space itself responds to the softer attention. I don't separate clarity from emotion. They don't cancel each other. They share the same space without overlap. There is room here for subtle reflection, for thoughts that don't demand answers, for feelings that don't require naming. I remain engaged, hands moving steadily, mind present without strain. Everything continuing as before. Time does not slow, it simply feels less urgent. Each minute complete without needing emphasis. I allow this state to persist, not expecting it too deep and not resisting if it does, letting it remain balanced. Nothing resolves, nothing concludes. The moment stays open, supporting what comes next. And so I continue within this softened focus, letting the edges remain faded, while everything else carries on.
Warmth settles without announcement, not arriving suddenly, just becoming noticeable after it has already arrived. I stay with that feeling without leaning into it, letting it remain present without shaping it into something else. The task remains clear, even as attention softens. There is no conflict here, only coexistence. I don't pause to reflect, I reflect while continuing, allowing thought and action to move together. The environment feels steady, unchanged in form, yet more receptive, as if it supports this state. I don't look for meaning inside the feeling. It doesn't require interpretation to remain useful. Time holds evenly, each moment connected without pulling forward, without drifting back. Focus stays intact, not sharp and not dull, simply supported. I notice how effort decreases when resistance fades. The work responds better when allowed to continue naturally. Thoughts appear less often now, not because they are gone, but because they are quieter, less insistent. I remain grounded even as warmth grows. Nothing pulls inward, nothing distracts outward. The moment doesn't close itself, it remains open-ended, allowing continuation without conclusion. I stay here, holding this quiet warmth while everything exactly the pace it needs.
I stay with the moment without naming it, without deciding what it should become. Yeah. The room holds its shape quietly. Nothing moves too quickly. Nothing asks for my attention. Everything stays where it is. Yeah. I move through the work slowly, one small action after another. No pressure to arrive, no reason to rush the pace. I stay where I am. Nothing pulls me away. I stay in this space, yeah. Nothing asks me to move. Thoughts come and go without weight. Some pass through completely, others remain at a distance, never close enough to interrupt. Time feels wide instead of long. It carries what I'm doing without measuring it, without cutting it short. I stay in the moment. Nothing breaks the flow. I remain right here. Nothing pulls me out. The rhythm continues on its own, not repeating exactly, but familiar enough to trust, different enough to stay open. I don't mock the middle, I look ahead for an ending. The process holds itself as long as I let it. I stay where I am. Nothing pulls me away. I remain in this place, yeah. Nothing interrupts. The sound blends in the movement, interrupts the movement in the time, and I continue still here, letting it continue. Letting it continue. Hey. I don't move away from the moment. I let it stay close without asking it to change. The feeling settles gently, not enough to distract, just enough to be noticed alongside what I'm doing. My hands keep moving, the work stays clear. Nothing competes, nothing interrupts. But stay where I am. away. I stay in this place. Nothing asks me to move. I stay where I am. Nothing pulls me away. Oh, thoughts appear with less urgency. They arrive without pressure. Some remain briefly, others is all before forming. Time continues evenly without signaling progress. Each minute complete without needing emphasis. I remain in the moment, nothing breaks the flow. I stay right here. Nothing pulls me out. There is balance in the softness. It doesn't weaken attention. It supports it by removing resistance. I stay with the pace. Nothing shifts me away. I remain in this space. Nothing even interrupts. I stay with the pace. Nothing shifts me away. I remain in this space. I remain in this space. I remain thinking, staying soft without losing where I am. Attention feels held, not tightly, just enough to remain without drifting. The test stays clear, even as thought softens. Nothing is lost. Nothing takes over. I stay in the flow. Nothing pulls me away. I stay with the word. Nothing interrupts. The environment fades slightly in the background texture. Sounds remain distant, supporting without signal. Time doesn't demand notice, it allows continuation. Each moment connected without urgency. I don't check the balance. I don't check the balance. Let it hold itself. I remain in the flow. Nothing shifts me out. I stay with this pace. Nothing breaks it. There's a quiet confidence in not adjusting and letting it what was happening without asking it to move faster, without asking it to slow down. The moment opens gradually, not all at once, like something adjusting its shape to fit the space it's in. I don't reach for clarity, I let it arrive on its own. Some things settle better when they aren't directed. The work in front of me feels steady, not exciting, not dull, just present enough to continue. I stay where I am, nothing pulls me away. I stay this space, nothing asks me to move. Thoughts pass through without weight, they don't linger long, they don't demand attention, they simply appear and fade. Time moves without edges here, no sharp beginnings, no clear endings, only continuation. I notice how effort softens when I stop measuring it. It becomes something sustainable, something that can last. Where I am, nothing shifts the flow. In the moment, nothing pulls me out. Yeah, the environment blends into texture, sound becomes background, movement becomes peripheral. Nothing competes for focus, my attention stays wide, not narrow, not scattered, just open enough to hold what matters. I don't check how long this has been or how long it'll last. The experience works better when time is left uncounted. I stay at the pace, nothing draws me away. I'm in this place, nothing interrupts. Yeah. There is comfort in this consistency, in knowing nothing needs adjustment. The rhythm already understands how to carry itself. Focus doesn't require force, it responds to patience, to allowing each part to complete itself naturally. This state doesn't feel fragile, it feels reusable, like something I can return to again and again. Where I am, nothing pulls me away. In the moment, nothing breaks the flow. The sound continue underneath, the word continue alongside it, and I continue as well, without marking the moment, without deciding when it should end, staying with it, as long as it keeps going. okay. I don't hold my focus tightly, I let it breathe, giving it enough space to remain without effort. The task stays clear even as attention softens. Nothing becomes vague, nothing loses its place. There is no urgency here, only movement, only the sense that things are continuing as they should. I stay in the flow, nothing pulls me away. I stay with the work, nothing interrupts. Interrupts. Yeah. Time feels less structured, more like a surface where attention can move freely without falling through. I notice how resistance fades when I stop correcting myself. The process becomes smoother, more cooperative. Thoughts arrive more slowly now, not because they are fewer, but because they are quieter, less insistent. I remain in the flow, nothing shifts me out. I stay with this pace, nothing breaks it. The surroundings remain unchanged, but they feel more supportive. Each sound staying distant, each movement staying small. I don't separate thinking from doing. They exist together without conflict, without overlap. This state feels usable, like something meant to last. Not intense enough to burn out, not empty enough to fade. I stay right here, nothing pulls me away. I remain with the rhythm, nothing interrupts. Nothing interrupts. There is value in letting things breathe, in not rushing the next step, in trusting that continuation is already enough. Focus doesn't need to be sharpened, it only needs to be allowed to stay consistent, to stay open. This attention isn't fragile, it's flexible, able to adjust slightly without breaking up. I stay in the flow, nothing pulls me away. I remain in the space, nothing breaks the line. Nothing breaks the line. The rhythm keeps moving underneath her. The sound keeps holding the space, and I stay with it. Not waiting for an ending, not preparing to stop. Letting it breathe, letting it continue for as long as it needs. Letting it continue for as long as it needs. Letting it continue. I stay inside the movement without stepping ahead of it, without falling behind. Yeah. The line holds steady, not because it's fixed, but because nothing pushes against it. hard enough to bend. I move along it carefully, not watching every step, trusting that balance exists on its own. The work stays present, clear enough to continue. It doesn't ask for urgency, only attention. I stay where I am, nothing pulls me away. I stay where I am, nothing pulls me away. I stay in this space, nothing asks me to move. Thoughts gather briefly, then loosen their grip. They don't compete, they don't insist. Time stretches quietly without becoming heavy, each minute supporting the next without needing definition. I don't look for progress, it forms in the background while I remain with what's already happening. I remain where I am, nothing breaks the flow. I stay with the moment, nothing pulls me up. Oh, I stay with the moment, nothing pulls me out. The surroundings stay familiar, but less noticeable. Sound becomes texture, movement becomes distant. My focus stays usable, wide enough to hold detail, narrow enough to remain clear without effort. I don't correct my pace, it adjusts itself when I stop interfering and allow it to move. I stay with the pace, I stay even draws me away. I remain in this place, nothing interrupts. Yeah, there is strength in holding the line. I'm tightening, not letting it slip, simply remaining consistent. This steadiness doesn't feel rigid, it feels adaptable, able to continue without strain. I can stay here longer because nothing is being forced, because nothing needs resolution. I stay where I am, nothing pulls me away. I remain in the moment, nothing breaks the line. The line continues underneath, nothing pulls me away. The rhythm continue alongside, and I continue as well, not marking the distance, not preparing for a stop, holding the line as long as it holds me. Breaks the line. So everything moves just enough, not fully still, not fully in motion, balance between the two. task remains clear. Without demanding attention, it stays available whenever I return to it. I stay in the flow, nothing pulls me away. I stay with the work, nothing interrupts. Time feels quieter here, not absent, just less insistent, allowing continuation. Thoughts appear more slowly, each one leaving space behind it. Enough room for the next to arrive gently. I don't hold on to any of them, they pass through, leaving the focus intact and usable. I remain in the flow, nothing shifts me out. I stay with this pace, nothing breaks it. Shifts me out. I stay with this pace, nothing breaks it. The environment fades further into something supportive, sound becoming distant, movement becoming minimal. This state feels sustainable, not intense, not empty, just stable enough to last. I don't look for change, I allow consistency to do its quiet work in the background. Stay right here, nothing pulls me away. I remain with the rhythm, nothing interrupts them. There is value in almost stillness and movement that doesn't announce itself, in progress that happens without display. This attention feels settled, able to remain without being held in place by force. I can stay here because nothing is fragile, nothing is at risk, nothing needs to be resolved. I stay in the flow, nothing pulls me away. Nothing breaks the line. Continues quietly, the rhythm stays underneath, and I stay with it, not waiting for an ending, not preparing to leave. Almost still at it, with just enough movement to continue. I begin to slow down without needing a reason, letting the pace change on its own. The day loses its grip quietly, nothing drops away suddenly, it simply stops asking for attention. My thoughts follow the same direction, not stopping, just moving more slowly with less urgency. The work no longer pushes forward, it rests where it is, complete enough. For now, I let the moment settle, nothing pulls me forward. I let the rhythm stay, nothing asks me to move. Time feels softer here, edges less defined, minutes blend together without resistance. I don't review the day or organize what remains, everything can quiet signal to slow. I let the moment rest, nothing pulls me ahead. Ooh, I stay with this pace, nothing interrupts. The environment fades further, light becomes dimmer, sound becomes distant. Everything less distinct, my attention stays light, no longer held tightly. It drifts gently without leaving. There is comfort and release in allowing the day to remain unfinished without concern. Nothing needs closure, nothing needs to be fixed. This space is meant for easing out. I let the rhythm soften. Nothing asks for more, nothing asks for more. Ooh, I remain me right here. Nothing pulls me on, nothing pulls me on. The sound stays slow beneath me, the rhythm barely moving, and I stay with it, letting the night arrive without marking the moment, slowing down until slowing is all that remains. The day begins to fade without ceremony, no clear signal, just a gradual change. I don't follow the shift, I allow it, letting attention lower without effort. The mind releases detail, one piece at a time, until only what matters remains. I let the day fall away, nothing pulls me back. I stay with the quiet, nothing interrupts. Time feels heavier now, not in weight but in depth. Each moment full of thoughts, slow their movement, space themselves out, leaving more silence between them. I don't reach for clarity, it's no longer required. This part of the day doesn't ask questions. Ooh. I let the quiet remain, nothing draws me out. I stay in this space, nothing breaks it. Ooh. Yeah. The room feels larger as sound retreats, light settles lower, shadows stretch, my focus softens further, almost transparent, still present, but barely held. There is ease in arrival, and knowing I don't need to do anything else right now. The day can stay unfinished, nothing this moment exists for rest. I let the quiet stay. Nothing asks for more, I remain right here. Nothing pulls me on. Sound thins out slowly, the rhythm dissolving, and I remain without intention, without direction, letting the quiet arrive. Fully and stay. Follow the light, would I turn it up? Letting the room decide the rest. The edges of the day soften again, less defining before. Nothing stands out clearly, and nothing needs to. Thoughts no longer line a picture gently, overlapping slightly, without forming direction. The body follows the same rhythm, slower, heavier, but comfortable. I let the light fall over. Nothing calls me back. I say with the quiet, nothing asks me to move. Time becomes less important, not something to follow, just something that passes unlistened. I don't try to remember details, they loosen their hold, leaving only impressions without shape. Breathing deepens naturally, not guided, just responding to the stillness. I let the moment down, nothing pulls me forward. I remain with the calm, nothing interrupts. The room feels farther away as the space has widened. Sound travels slowly before reaching me. My attention pins out, almost transparent, still present but barely connected. There is no need to stay alert, nothing requires response. This part of the night is meant for release. Awareness softens without disappearing. It stays nearby without effort. I let everything settle, nothing asks for more. I remain right here, nothing pulls me over. The light continues lowering, the sun remains under me, and I stay with it, not watching.
can't pass. Not waiting for a sleep, just letting the quiet hold me a little whatever.
I'm not fully awake, not fully asleep. Somewhere in between, wherever it disappears. Thoughts lose their edges, words become softer, meaning loosens without fading completely. I stay in between, nothing pulls me back. I stay in the space, nothing interrupts. Time feels distant now, less linear, more like a surface that I drift across. I don't hold on to awareness, it stays on its own, light enough to remain without effort. The body rests heavier, sinking slowly, finding its place. Without instruction, I remain in between. Nothing asks for more, nothing asks for more. I stay with the quiet, nothing pulls me on. Slightly into shadow and tone. Sound becomes a layer rather than a signal. Attention fades further, still present, but I'm focused and unconcerned. There is comfort here in not deciding, in letting the mind drift without direction. The space doesn't ask for clarity, it exists for rest. I stay in between, nothing pulls me away. I remain right here, nothing breaks the calm. Oh, the sound stretches thin, the rhythm barely moving, and I stay with it, not stepping forward, not pulling back, almost asleep, letting the space hold me as long as it does. After everything, half a day rest, without asking for a summary. Yet hours behind it loosen slowly, have disappeared, just releasing their weight, one by one. Nothing needs to be revisited, nothing needs correction. What happened today
can stay where it is. The body settles first, and the mind follows. Not stopping, just slowing in a place. We set the data. Nothing pulls me back. I hate to say that. Nothing is for more. Felt to arrange themselves quietly. Some make sense, some remain unfinished. Call it unacceptable. Time feels less demanding now. No longer pushing forward, allowing space for stillness without silence. I don't replay conversations or rehearse what comes next. This part of the evening doesn't require that. I like a day remain. Nothing draws me in. I stay with this calm. Nothing interrupts. The room feels neutral, not bright, not dark. Just enough light to stay present. Some stays always supportive, never asking attention. Everything here knows how to stay quiet. And notice how effort fades when there's nothing left to manage. Your day is already done what it needed to do. I set the pace down. Nothing pulls me ahead. I relay right here. Nothing needs fixing. There's relief in not carrying anything forward, in allowing today to be today and nothing more. Completion doesn't need ceremony. Sometimes it just feels lighter when it's allowed and quietly. I'll set the day down. Nothing pulls me back. I'm here to stay there. Nothing else for more. The sound continues underneath. The evening stays with me, and I stay with. Not closing anything, not preparing for tomorrow. Just allowing the day to remain finished in its own way. The evening finds its balance, not leaning forward, not pulling back,
resting in between. I don't carry urgency anymore. It doesn't belong here. This part of the day moves differently. The mind releases its grip without instruction, letting attention widen slightly. Nothing left to hold, nothing left to push. I stay with the moment, nothing interrupts. Time feels open again, not empty, just less structured, allowing pause. I notice how calm arrives after movement stops. Not because of silence, but because effort fades. The surroundings remain familiar, yet less demanding. Everything stays present without expectation. Nothing left to manage, nothing left to chase. I remain in a space. Nothing pulls me out. The day no longer follows me, it stays behind. Complete enough to be left alone. I don't review or plan, there's no need. This moment holds enough clarity. My breathing stays even unnoticed, and that feels right for now. Nothing left to fix, nothing left to, nothing left to prove, nothing left to. I stay with the calm, nothing needs moving. Nothing needs moving. Nothing needs moving. There's balance in knowing that not every moment needs to lead somewhere after this. Some moments exist only to close a chapter without opening another immediately. Nothing left to hold, nothing left to push. I remain right here. Nothing interrupts. Rhythm continues quiet. The evening stays intact, and I stay with it. Not reaching forward, not stepping back, letting the balance hold as long as it does. Before tomorrow, hurry today, wear it. Nothing from this day needs to follow me. It has already happened. It has already passed through, and it knows how to rest. The moments don't disappear, they simply lose weight, become a lot easier to carry by not carrying him. I leave today here. Nothing pulls me back. I stay with this evening. Nothing asks for more. Time feels finished without closing, like a page left open.
Not because it's incomplete, but because it doesn't mean sin. I don't summarize or judge. There's no benefit now. It's ours. It's only to let go. I let the dream remain. Nothing draws me in. I stay ready. Nothing interrupts. There's space between days that doesn't belong to you. A quiet stretch. And for me, the effort, no rest. I lead today, yeah. Nothing holds my attention. Yeah. Nothing holds my attention. Breathing stays in time. Some move slowly, and I stand before tomorrow, before anything begins again. This is enough for now. Nothing else needs to happen. Nothing else needs attention. The day has reached a natural pause. I don't push it further. I don't put it back. This moment holds on its own. This is enough. Nothing always beating. I stay with this case. Nothing until effort no longer adds value. It only creates minds. So I let it go without resistance. Yeah, the one stays neutral, neither bright nor dark. Just present enough to remain aware. This is enough. Nothing pulls me forward. I'm in right here. Nothing asks me to move. Completion doesn't need transformation. Some things simply best stopping without an hour's ready. This is it.
Nothing moves quickly now. Everything knows its place. The day no longer pulls in any direction. I remain aware, but not engaged, present without effort, and that feels right. The evening holds, nothing pulls me away. I stay right here, nothing interrupts. Time doesn't ask questions, it allows stillness without turning it into silence. I don't prepare for what's next. This hour isn't meant for that. It exists on its own without responsibilities. In the evening stays, nothing needs change. I remain present, nothing follows me. Breathe, let the awareness can rest without disappearing. This is not sleep, this is arrival. The evening holds, nothing asks for more. I stay with this moment, nothing moves me open. The sound stays underneath, the night stays distant, and I remain held without needing to go further. The evening holds, and I stay inside it. Nothing moves quickly now. Everything knows its place. The day no longer pulls in any direction. I remain aware but not engaged, present without effort, and that feels right. The evening holds, nothing pulls me away. I stay right here, nothing interrupts. Time doesn't ask questions, it allows stillness without turning it into silence. I don't prepare for what's next. This hour isn't meant for that. It exists on its own without responsibility. Evening stays, nothing needs change. I remain present, nothing follows me. Awareness can rest without disappearing. This is not sleep, this is arrival. The evening holds, nothing asks for more. I stay with this moment, nothing moves me. The sound stays underneath, the night stays distant, and I remain held without needing to go further.
It's where it is. But Nothing closes shortly. Nothing fades too far. The day simply reaches its natural limit. I don't like it. I don't celebrate it. I don't allow it to be complete. Nothing pulls me back. I stay with this crown. Nothing asks for more. There's no urgency hurt, no reason to continue. This moment exists only to remain. I don't carry it forward, I don't hold it behind, I let it stay exactly. Here it is. Nothing beats feelings and I remain frozen. Nothing follows me. Endings don't need weight, they only need space to arrive without resistance. Nothing pulls me away. I stay with this pride. Nothing moves me. The song continues softly. The evening stays complete, and I remain. I've been meditating gently. If I